I think
Hi
we're live.
everyone. I think we're live right now. Hi everyone. My name is Celeste. Thank you so much for being for coming into my show. It's Live with Celeste, and today we're with Karina. I'm so excited to have Karina on the podcast today. She's a powerhouse real estate agent. She's a broker and an investor in Massachusetts. She has a wealth of knowledge and experience in the industry, and I can't wait to hear more about her journey, her business, and what drives her to success. So, Karina, thank you for joining us. Let's dive
Thank
into
you.
getting to know you. Appreciate that. All right. Hello.
Yeah, thank you for having me. And thank you for agreeing to do my live not so long ago. I was doing a 30-day live challenge to overcome the whole hesitation with being on any sort of lives. But anyways, so I actually went into real estate in 2008 when all hell broke loose. But I was just so excited because I was leaving corporate America, and I thought this was the absolute best way to do it because it didn't require much seed capital to start a business. I could work with people. I loved
Hmm.
being out and about as opposed to being stuck in front of a computer for, sometimes 12, 14 hours a day as an auditor or an accountant. So I absolutely loved the chaos of 2008 because I thought I'm going to learn so much and it's going to be so cool. So it wasn't really about the money so much as it was about the freedom, the sort of like, let me get away from the corporate
Hmm.
lifestyle, not have to ask
Yeah.
for permission to take a vacation to go to see my family in Moscow. So long story short,
Yeah.
it started a little bit slow. I took every class I could possibly take at Cold Banker. It was great. But it was probably about 6 months before I really had any sort of traction as an agent. So just to set the expectations, it's not that lucrative, on occasion at least. Now, back then, honestly, I wasn't really thinking investing. I was thinking I just want to kind of get to know what my options would be. So I basically we bought
Yeah.
out home in Newton, and I knew that we were going to have to rebuild it. So there was a whole thing like trying to figure out a lot of pieces. But basically, I realize now that the last job before that I had was an absolutely amazing opportunity that I didn't take advantage of back then. And if somebody's in that phase of their life where they're working at one of the capital investment or capital management firms, especially dealing with commercial real estate,
Hmm.
I hope they move
Hmm.
around within that company. And like what I did, which is basically I just did accounting, and I enjoyed it. It was educational, but
Yeah.
it's just that I could have gone to an acquisition department. I could have learned really like the whole gist of like what does it take to evaluate, underwrite, really analyze where this investment could be going in 3 to 5 years, right? Because basically you are
Yeah.
tasked with, you take pension funds from a big company, right? You basically say, okay, we're going to give you, 8% return, let's say within 5 years. Anything above that, you split with this company, right? Managing your money. So it would have
Hmm.
been a hell of an experience to be on the acquisition side and then also
Yeah.
maybe transfer over to the disposition side, right? Because then you have so many connections
Exactly.
with commercial brokers and you really understand the
Hmm.
landscape, right? So I was just sticking to my little accounting and, doing the communications with the management companies, and I was just so happy that I was no longer, basically burning the candle at like 11 o'clock at night is an auditor. So, anyways, everything is relative.
Hmm.
But what I'm getting at is that 15 years later, now that I've been a real estate agent,
Yeah.
I'm realizing just, especially in 2008, 2009, I mean, there were so many opportunities that, easily, you could basically build this amazing portfolio by now and you could have
Hmm.
rental properties, but you could also, like I'm obviously seeing a lot of different examples, but, people start off a lot of times with duplexes and triplexes, right?
How
And then,
much were the properties there, if you don't mind me? Back
oh,
then in Newton, how it wasn't that expensive, right? It
well,
just skyrocketed.
well,
I
Newton,
remember.
honestly, I have to say Newton was always, so for example, back in 2004, we bought our house in Newton, which was a 1950 ranch. We bought it
Hmm.
for about 700,000. So it wasn't cheap,
Hmm.
right? It
It
needed a lot
wasn't
of
cheap, but it
things.
wasn't like in the millions, like right now, multi-million houses and
Well,
stuff.
yes,
Um,
but I just want to kind of point out that actually it's not like right now. For example, I can't believe it, but for example, you look at a super old house in Newton, and you got to buy for about $1 million, right, to basically
Yeah,
demolish it and build something new, right? A
yeah,
million dollars. That
exactly.
sounds insane. But if I really think about
Hmm.
like the difference between the house that we bought in 2004, right, seven hundred
Hmm.
thousand and a million, I
Yeah.
mean, there's obviously a difference, but it's not that huge of a difference, because for example,
Hmm.
in other parts of the state where the mortgage crisis hit especially hard, like you could,
Yeah.
for example, you could buy three family in Worcester for 100K, I mean, that's, like, it's a
Yeah.
tremendous
Yeah.
difference.
Yeah. Different. Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. Exactly.
So, but of course, the hindsight, right, is everything. It's just that, like, I think, in terms of, for example, in Newton, unlike even Needham, like I was talking to somebody at the city hall, right? And so the environment in different towns, even if they're super close and actually neighboring each other, are so different
Mhm.
sometimes. So
Yeah.
you literally have like some super friendly construction wise, fix and flipping, renovation, new construction town right next to the one that's not super friendly, right? And they imposing all these new rules that are making things very difficult, and you have to wait as an investor, 6 to 9 months sometimes to even get your project approved, right? So it's really fascinating
Yeah.
to understand the
Right.
differences there. And yeah,
Yeah.
but yeah, basically, my quote unquote journey, so far as an investor, because I feel like it's really very short so far, but it's last year when I finally decided that that's it. I'm going in. I'm not waiting for anything anymore, and I joined Sub Two Community
Yeah.
as right as this, which is how we met, and I just
As do I.
realized
Yeah.
how similar, like it really is just a mindset issue, right? That we just feel so lonely sometimes or isolated, nobody to lean
Yeah.
on, right? Who's going to
Yeah.
help me with my questions? And
Mhm.
honestly, in real estate, this is not to hurt anybody's feelings, but a lot of brokerages that are old model brokerages, there's just a certain
Mhm.
ambiance, like a certain territorial vibe there that a lot of realtors, they just
Yeah.
think that, okay, I gotta just work hard, hard, hard. They're not even really thinking about collaboration because it's just not, it's not in the
Mhm.
air, so to speak, right? It's very hard to like
Yeah.
imagine that somebody
Exactly.
will actually like open up and share with you, right? So I honestly
Mhm.
was not expecting this. And last year when I joined up too, I was blown away. I was like, oh my God, these people actually want to help everybody wants to help everyone.
Yeah.
And of course, exception supply. But I mean, it was just an amazing vibe. And then I found my new brokerage through the conversations, in the investment community, which I found it to be
Mhm.
so exciting because it's a new model real estate brokerage to me. This is how it should have been, but it's just kind
Yeah.
of, yeah. So basically, I'm just honestly, I feel like I'm in the very beginning of a journey as an investor here. Like we did some
Mhm.
stuff with my dad abroad, but in US, I did feel super isolated. So I was just kind of, just building a house, like learning some
Yeah, and
things.
having real estate experience here and abroad is totally different. Like
Oh, totally.
my family, my husband's family, they have like subdivisions and developments back home in
Mm,
the Philippines, but it's totally different. So this
right.
it's a very different learning curve, like what you were saying. In Moscow,
Yeah.
it might be so different, and especially like you've already been in the field of real estate, but coming into sub two. So for anyone who doesn't know what sub two is, it's a community where Karina and I met and were a part of. It's really like collaboration with all of we have realtors there, stay at home moms, everyone, contractors, lenders, and everyone who are interested in investing, buying properties and businesses. And so that is like a really nice community wherein we collaborate. If I don't know anything, I ask the community and they would give me their um, I don't want to say they're all expert, but they have life experiences and they've experienced it before. Like if I have a real estate question with regards to an agent and stuff, I can go to Karina and say, Karina, this agent is making me do this, this, and that. So she is an expert in there. She's been there for 15 years. So those kind of stuff. So yeah, so to anyone who doesn't know sub 2, if you want to enroll, Karina and I both have affiliates. We'll have we'll have listed it on our description and you can click on it, so if you want to be a member. So so you've done all that for 15 years. So I know, so since you've been investing now, you've invested into the laundromat business, right? I
Yes.
know it's not just yours, and you want to tell us more about that. I don't want to spoil anything, so go ahead.
Yeah, yeah. No, it's so funny. Like this community is just like I feel like it surprises me every day. But so Ben is someone who he mentioned that he sold his I think it was condos. He had a portfolio of condos in
He has
Boston.
multi-families, yeah. Ben is another friend of ours, Benjamin Wang. He's a
Yes.
stellar investor, and Karine is going to tell you more.
Yes, yes. First of all, he's such a just a fun human being. Like you should just
Hmm.
find him on Instagram and just make friends with him. But
Yeah,
basically, no, I was talking about like before he invested in Texas, right? Because I think he invested in multifamily. So before that,
yeah,
he had portfolio of condos, I think, in Boston. And so
yeah.
he basically,
Hmm.
just for various reasons, he just decided, okay, let's sell this off and go buy some, one asset basically that's going to be professionally managed. And then I think I don't know what exactly got into him, but he decided that he's going to be buying businesses now. I think it's the the fact that he discovered that he could buy businesses with zero money down, right? Which I think to almost most normal quote unquote people, like most
Yeah.
civilians, sounds insane. Like, what do
Hmm.
you mean 0% down or 0% interest or
Yeah.
creative financing? What?
Without money, right? I was like,
Yeah,
what? Yeah,
yeah,
exactly.
exactly. Yeah, you got to have, bajillions of dollars, right, to buy businesses. And apparently, no. And thankfully, now it's gaining a lot more tractions. And Cody Sanchez just published a book, Main Street Millionaire.
Mm.
So there's a lot of
Yeah.
exciting stuff I think happening in that area as well. So, but basically, yeah, Ben just, pitched it to. When I said pitch, I don't mean like he actually like formally was pitching. He was just saying, "Look, you guys, I found this great opportunity, would love to do it with the fellow sub two friends. Would you be interested?" Like he didn't really need us necessarily, but he wanted to build that relationship. And I think that's what's beautiful, within this community is that people
Collaborate.
will
Yeah.
work with each
Hmm.
other, not so much because, they need you and they must make money, I mean, with you, like it's like a component that they must have. They're basically saying, look, this is part of the sauce, right? Like the secret sauce. I'm going to get to know you. You're going to get to know
Hmm.
me. This will lead to the next opportunity, right? You will think of me. I will think of you, right? We understand
Hmm.
each other. We know if we
Exactly.
can trust each other, right? So that's the beauty of it. And so, yeah, I invested in, it's on Commonwealth Avenue, and it's a dry cleaner and a laundromat, and just really amazing story. Piers Morby had a little video, I think, on, I don't know if it was on YouTube and Instagram, right? I
Yeah.
think maybe both. So if you guys want
It's
to check it
it's
out,
on YouTube now. Yeah. Yeah.
okay, perfect.
Hmm.
Yeah, just check it out.
Yeah,
It's a
yeah.
true story.
Yeah, that is really exciting. And are you thinking about, are you still looking into you're looking now into buying businesses and doing the same thing, collaborating with someone that you don't necessarily need, but it's nice to
Right.
have, those people that are either they're like a silent partner, or they have like expertise like property management or whatever, something like,
Yeah,
taking
100%.
care of the staff and stuff like that. So you're entertaining the idea of buying businesses as well now.
100%. 100%. Yeah, I'm gonna read the book. I'm gonna. So, I know Cody has her own training or course or something that you could participate in, but I think for now, I'm gonna just go through the whole.
Cody has a book. This is the book that you're
Yes,
telling people about, right? Street
exactly,
Millionaire.
exactly.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
So grab a
um,
copy of that. I'm gonna
yeah,
have
and,
yeah, I'll post this on the description down below. But yeah,
yeah. And I honestly like. I
okay,
feel like
perfect.
I'm
So
generally. Oh, sorry. Is it freezing?
go ahead, go ahead.
Oh,
Yeah,
so
yeah,
no.
it's just cut off. But yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just saying that, honestly, this is one of those things that I'm genuinely excited about because, the whole conversation about, oh, there's not enough jobs or, people graduating from colleges, they have very vague degrees that really didn't teach them a particular skill set, right? They get lost, right? Or
Mm-hmm.
they get a job, but it's not making anywhere close to where, I mean, they're not making enough money to afford to live basically in a city like they were hoping for. So now they're moving either back with parents, which I see nothing wrong with that, but it's the choices, right? Like, do they have a choice
Mm-hmm.
to do whatever it is that they want to, right, and move whatever they want to? So I think
Yeah.
literally right now is like the point of precipice where I think if Cody's dream, which I think her dream is to have a million new business owners, right, basically like understand the skills involved to buy a business, right, and really make it a win-win. So people retiring are not just
Mm-hmm.
closing shop, right, and actually a lot of times they have to pay to close their business, right? So I
Yeah,
love
and
this
most of them
whole,
don't know that they can sell their businesses. Their
right.
go-to is just close it out because they are old. So they don't know what they you only know what you know unless you talk to someone who knows more, right? So um actually 4 out of 10 people that you talk to when they graduate, they don't really work the degree that they graduated on. A
Exactly.
lot, unless you're like a nurse or a doctor or a lawyer, but otherwise a lot of people are having a degree but not really doing whatever they studied for
Mhm.
and paid hundreds and thousands of dollars for. So yeah, so
Literally.
this is really something that I don't want to say that anyone can do it. It takes a certain person to do what we do because, again, it's a lot of mindset. There's a lot of things that you have to overcome because, again,
Mhm.
you're starting your own business. You're really not generating a lot of money in the beginning, right? Because it's more, learning, and unless you go there and really do the deed. But yeah,
Well,
so go ahead.
so that point I want to say. So I don't know if you had a chance. I can share with you, and if you want to put it in the description. So
Yeah.
back in August, I caught Cody's. It was some sort of like it's unlisted video on YouTube. So it was a webinar that
Mhm.
basically you could join, and she was talking about this whole sort of idea of what she's trying to do here. And so one of the things she was talking about is that in her, like the model of acquisition, right, that they go by, you don't
Yeah.
buy new businesses. You don't, first of all,
Mhm.
if you have a choice to start a business or buy a
Mhm.
business, right?
Buy
Because
a business.
when you, yeah, when you have something that's existed for, and her formula is I think 5 years or longer, right? So you're not
Mhm.
buying a 1 year old business.
Yeah.
It already has either failed, right? I mean, by the 5 year mark, you already either failed or figured it out, right? Like it's just
Yeah.
general, trend, right? So basically,
Mhm.
if you know which questions to ask, if you really have the tools to, to really go through kind of thoroughly through the formula, you end up buying a business that makes money day one, right? You're not buying
Mhm.
a dying business. You're not buying, a broken business or something that's, clearly is, just lacking something, right? Like the business already shown you that there's a demand for this business, right? Because
Mhm.
the cash flow is
It's
happening.
still thriving. Yeah. Mhm.
Yeah, so I think that's the key, right? That's why I think people a lot of times don't understand that there's a way to basically do it very intelligently, right? As opposed to just kind of, closing your eyes and crossing the highway and
Yeah,
hoping
and
for the
instead
best.
of just starting over and building up your customer, building up the,
Right.
yeah. So I think I caught that video as well. So and then she mentioned also that it doesn't mean that it's like a unknown or like dying business, because you can add value
Mhm.
to it,
Right.
build it up a little bit, improve it a
Yeah.
little bit more social media coverage or whatever. So yeah,
Right.
that's a great thing. Thank you for sharing that, because not a lot of people knows about it. I
Yeah.
remember my kids are telling me that, so we have Airbnbs, right? And so they want to have like a vending machine, because they
Mm-hmm.
use it anyway. It's like, why not we put a vending machine? But it's just our Airbnbs are not tailored that way. So I was like, when Ben was telling me about the laundromat, it was like,
Hmm.
yeah, you can put vending machines for your kids in there. You just have to pay me rent. I was like, I have to think about that first. So that's one thing that you can put vending machines in there. So yeah, like piggybacking on the businesses that you acquire. Yeah, that's really a great idea. So
Yeah.
let's go a little bit onto the your real estate background. So there's recent rule changes with ANAR, right? So
Hmm.
how do you think those changes impact, like, one, the agents, the buyers like me, and the sellers like me as well, like the both of us? So what does that change really mean?
And I'll send you something on this as a little video, which again, feel free to share it with anyone. But basically, the key thing that I think really needs to be highlighted is that in the past, basically, the listing was signed, the listing agent got to negotiate whatever percentage upfront. So let's say it was 5%. It's not
Hmm.
6%. I don't know why 6% is floating everywhere. Honestly, I have
Yeah.
not seen 6% in eons. So let's just call it
Hmm.
5%.
Okay.
And most of the time, 5% would get split between the listing agent and the buyer's agent, right? That was just
Hmm.
how it's been done for a very long time.
Yeah.
Now, the new settlement essentially said, no, no, everybody's going to have their own representation and their own contracts, right? So the seller
Hmm.
is no longer obligated, not that they ever were, but they highlighting, right, that the seller should know that they don't need to pay for the buyer's agent, right? So basically, all you're going to be stating in that agreement is that my seller's agent is going to be getting, let's say, 2.5%, right? And that's all you're stating there. Now,
Yeah.
there might be disclosure separately that says that I, as a seller, am open to entertaining buyers' agency commissions so long as the net terms make sense to me, right?
Hmm.
So I will
Yeah.
cover. So it's not the listing agent anymore that's going to be cutting the check. It's the
Hmm.
seller who decides that they're going to pay the seller's agent, but also they could
Hmm.
choose to pay the buyer's agent. So
Hmm.
the talk on the street was that it's going to be awful for the first of all the consumers because they may not be able to afford to pay their own agents, let's say out of
Yeah.
pocket, right? Because they have to come up with down payment, and yeah, mind you,
Hmm.
in some cases you could roll
On the
in the down.
buyer side, right?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So basically, for example, like VA, right? Like VA loans, they
Hmm.
actually, so you know how you put 0% down, right, on a
Yeah.
VA loan.
On the video.
So
Yeah.
they would not have been allowed to actually pay for the buyer's agent out of pocket because that's just the way the program works, right?
Yeah.
So there's some nuances, like, basically some buyers would then be left underrepresented, which makes no sense, right? Because you want
Hmm.
everybody to have guidance, right? I mean, if they want one. And so it
Hmm.
was just kind of creating, it was almost like fixing a problem that didn't really exist before, honestly, because there was the market figured out the optimal format, right? And the format
Yeah.
was that, we just streamlined the whole thing, and no, the sellers were not obligated, but it just made sense to bring maximum attention, right? Maximum audience to the house. They
Hmm.
basically had a co-broke, right? Like basically they
Yeah.
authorized the agent to split the fee. So now that's not happening. So to give you an example, recently I had an offer. We have offers. So one of the offers that we chose, basically, it just so happens that they did not ask for buyer's commission, right?
Mhm.
So the buyers must be paying their own agent, which is fine with us. So sellers nowadays basically will look carefully at all the terms, right? And they'll basically say, okay, net, how does this offer compare to this offer, apples to apples,
Yeah.
right? So that's kind of the biggest difference. And I mean,
Mhm.
you could try to, be competitive because you might, come to the open house and say, well, I don't have an agent, right? So my offer, therefore, is going to be the best offer or better offer. Maybe, maybe not, right? So it
Mhm.
really depends because depending on how much attention that property is getting. So if the property from the get go is slightly overpriced, the audience is smaller, right? So to the sellers out there, I know it might tickle your nerves, but try to be competitive. Like if you go in the market, try to go a little bit lower than what you think the market value is because it generates more interest. Right now,
Mhm.
everybody's welcome to put whatever number they like. It's just that you have to be prepared for sort of shrinking your audience, right? And then you have few choices, which
Yeah.
again, it's fine, right? If you think there's enough choices and you're going to pick the best offer that you're comfortable with, start anywhere you like, but to really like maximize the chances of getting like the best offer that the market is ready to give you. That's why
Mhm.
the agents a lot of times will recommend pricing it a little bit under what's perceived to be the market value. Does that make sense?
Mhm. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
So yeah, thank you for highlighting that, and yeah, I would love to have that link so that when people watch this and they want more information on that, let's say they're listing their property or whatnot, they can just go there and check it out. So yeah.
yeah.
So
It's
with regards, so we are in one of the they say toughest markets in real estate in Massachusetts. Uh, Houses are expensive. It's harder to qualify.
mm-hmm.
The inventory is not that much. So what are trends that you're seeing right now in there? What do people should know about if they want to buy a property here? Because we're a hub of industry of healthcare, so a lot of people are flocking in here. Where I think we're still one of the few states that insurances cover IVFs or in vitro fertilization. A lot of
Mm-hmm.
people I know because I worked in the healthcare field before. They live in different states. They would stay here for a year to 2 years until they ran out their insurance coverage because they want to have a baby through IVF. So
Mm-hmm.
what can you say about the market in Massachusetts right now?
So Massachusetts is pretty large, right? So for example, if you're talking about Greater Boston, it has its own dynamic, right? Versus let's say Western Mass or Central Mass.
Yeah.
There's
Hmm.
definitely a lot of interest from the investors towards the Central Mass, like Worcester, and it's already started a few years ago. It's not new.
Yeah.
I suspect that Springfield will be the next Worcester. Just the kind of the. I mean, it's
Yeah,
not.
we have. I think they're building a train that connects
There you go.
West Mass, yeah, Western to Greater Boston. So
Right.
that's gonna be,
Right. I
yeah,
mean, there's been a lot of conversations in the past about the infrastructural improvements. So, I'll believe it when I see it. But
yeah, yeah,
just with a lot of other things, right? But it's just that
exactly.
overall, like I think that's what I'm hoping to accomplish in the next year for sure. So as a realtor, right, I feel like I mean, I don't want to say I failed my clients because I did not like consciously try to fail anybody, but it's just that I didn't have enough tools in my toolbox, right? So when a property would not sell, let's say in 60 days, 90 days, my contract usually is 6 months, right? But not everybody wants to stay the whole length of the contract. So a lot of times people might say, you know what, we've been on the market for 3 months. It's now December. I want to get off and relist in September. I'm sorry, in spring, right? Like in
Hmm.
whatever March. So normally that was the progression, right? You expire, right? And then you just relist in a few months, unless maybe somebody makes you off market offer, right? Which could
Hmm.
happen, but it's just
Yeah.
not necessarily that frequent. So what I know now, right, thanks to that sub two and you guys, and people basically just really immersing themselves in the whole like spectrum of what creative financing means, right? And really being super creative. I mean, from lease options to hybrid sub two
Rabs.
to
Yeah.
yes, there's just so many different ways to make things work. So
Hmm.
what I'm hoping to accomplish is basically to create this buzz in Massachusetts that there's way more that we all could be doing, right? So properties that maybe on the sort of way to expiration. I mean, why not just have like an event, literally like a creative financing event, at this house, like a little creative open house,
Yeah.
just like have people, it's almost like an auction of great ideas, right? Like let people
Hmm.
come in and just throw some ideas. Because at the
Hmm.
end of the day, I think like you were saying, objectively, there's so much demand. And there's so many
Mhm.
so-called unbankable clients. Like, for example, I have a client who she started her private business right this year, so she's not going to qualify for a loan until 2 years from now,
Yeah.
right? So how do I help her, right? And so I need to make enough connections so that it should be efficient, right? It should not take us 3 months to find them a homestead home, or
Yeah.
maybe it's going to be a lease option, right?
Offer
So
her, yeah, a lease option or a wrap, and stuff like that.
exactly, exactly.
Yeah.
So basically, I think the more of us are in this loop, and we're talking to each other on a regular basis, and we'll figure out, what's the best channel. I don't know, maybe I'll have something in Telegram, or, maybe like we'll figure out how to put the information out there. But for now, for example, like sub two, right? We have physical events. People can come to a physical event like December
Yeah.
21st. We have one, right, coming up.
This coming
So
Saturday. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, so people will link that too, or just every Thursday, people have like we have Zooms, right, with Sub to New England. I mean, there's just so many ways for agents to plug into this space, right, and
Hmm.
basically just see where they fit in, right, and if you have a problem as an agent, see if our community can solve it, right. So basically,
Yeah.
just reach out. Let's
Yeah.
work together, because truly
Yeah.
Massachusetts is, it's unique in many ways, and I think there's objectively good reasons why people want to be here, but at the same
Hmm.
time, when they feel just out of options, right? And everything, honestly, another issue is that I think people are kind of getting squeezed out of home ownership in many ways, because the insurance has gone up tremendously, right? Home insurance. You have various other, like just the energy bills, the utility bills, right? So a lot of people are feeling the squeeze, right? So, for example, like they now loosening up the thing with EDUs, right? The additional
Hmm.
dwelling units, which is great, but somebody needs to build the damn thing, right?
Yeah.
So, like,
I know builders, so let me know if you want to build ADUs. So that's our plan too. So we have a few properties, right? And we
right.
have huge lots. So that's come January, everything will be, I think some of the counties, some of the cities, you still have to have a permit,
Mm,
like a special standard. But no, some of the counties, like the one that we live in, I think in Granby, Mass, you can just build whatever as long as it follows the below 900 square feet, you can build it. So I was like,
mm,
I'm so excited because our house is in like a 2 acre house property, and so
nice.
I'm so excited to like build on the other 1 acre that we have. But yeah, so
Mhm,
I understand that being in the space where a lot of creative juices are there, and the problem solvers, like all of
mhm,
us, we want to solve homelessness and we want to help people at the end of the day. Yeah, we're investors, but there is a greater thing that goes with that. We want to help the scarcity of homeowners, people having a house here. So I actually do belong to a few more other groups of real estate, not necessarily in the community of sub 2, but I do go to the one in Foxborough. They have it every third or fourth Mondays at
mhm,
night, and it's really great because they have everyone in there as well. So yeah, and
mhm,
that's one thing. So and you mentioned about this coming Saturday. We have a meetup in Braintree, so I think it's open to everyone. I'll include the link on this the description here when I post
mhm,
it, and that's one way for us to go to. So since you're a realtor, I know I've mentioned this before, but I do want to mention it again because I am partners with a nonprofit, and what we do is we get grants from the government, and they give grants to age out foster care. So it's transitional housing, age out
mhm,
foster care, domestic violence, single moms, seniors, sober, and what do you call that? Veterans.
mhm,
And so once they get grants, they tell me, Celeste, I need 25, 25 beds or whatever in a certain town. And then
mhm,
I already rent out my properties to them. So I'm tapped out. And I can't
mhm.
necessarily just buy everything that we need.
Right,
So
right.
what I do is I advocate. I talk to real estate agents, I talk to
Mhm,
landlords, and I tell them this is how we rent the properties. And then as long as they're okay to sublease the property to my company, and so
mhm,
then I can lease it to the organization, we can work out those things. So to anyone there that has properties that you want your property management taken care of, will take care of the utilities, and we'll make sure the vacancies you can take out there, because we will the rent is between 3 years to 5 years.
Hmm.
And so yeah, that's one thing that we can offer, services as well, if in case you have or you know of any properties that needs to be rented out anywhere in Massachusetts. So what I do is, you have a property vacant, I go to
Hmm.
my ledger and see if ledger, who uses ledger nowadays? I'm like aging myself. I go to my Excel spreadsheet and see
Hmm.
if we have available grants there, and then we go from there. So yeah.
Yeah, if you don't mind, I would love to know if there's anything in the Newton, Watertown, Waltham. I mean, basically within my immediate proximity, because I know quite a few people who are landlords, or maybe they like in
Okay.
transition or something.
Watertown you might have, because Newton, so these are transitional, right?
Hmm.
Newton is kind of like a great town. So it's typically C plus to C towns that we
Right.
usually put people into. But yeah, I think we do have Watertown, because it's not just, yeah, we have single moms that are just down on luck and there, but
Right.
yeah, I'll let you know about those cities. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. I actually, you know what? You just reminded me.
So, um, do you buy
Sorry.
and hold right now, or you go ahead?
I'm
Go.
in the process of
Sorry, go ahead.
researching. Oh, sorry. Is it freezing? I feel like the connection might be a little off. No, but I'm planning to do that. So this year, next year, so I should say 2025, I will be doing that. The question is, like I wonder if I should focus on Massachusetts with that or not, because it's just, it gives me a little pause just to compare, different options that I might have. Maybe like I can buy two, three properties, let's say, with the same amount of money in, I don't know, let's just say Arizona, right? Versus let's say Massachusetts,
Mhm.
where I might have, maybe one property for that money, right? So
Yeah.
it just depends. But I really need to do a much more thorough analysis, which this is another thing I wanted to say. Like I think that, I mean, everybody understands that good things take time, right? So if you're super talented and you just want to jump into things and things just magically work out for you, that's great. But I feel
Mhm.
like a lot of times, and a lot of people in my world, I feel like they almost like feel, how do I say this, like when you just don't, you start like losing faith in yourself because you've thought about
Mhm.
something for years and you still haven't done it, right? And it's
Yeah.
so ironic, right, that we just put ourselves like into those positions where we're sort of really hard on ourselves. And I
Mhm.
think I would almost like love it to show people, like whenever like a lot of like influencers are flashing at like the Grant Cardones of the world, right? Like they were talking about like the latest $350 million that they made, right? I mean, it's cute and it's good for them.
Yeah.
But and honestly, I have absolutely zero envy, like zero, right? In terms of like like
Mhm.
when people want to impress you, I just don't know what it is. Like I'm not like super impressionable, I guess, right? But what I
Yeah.
am
Yeah.
impressed about is when people actually like take it easy on themselves, right? And actually just keep moving right, in the direction that they want to be moving, as opposed to just throwing the
Mhm.
towel and just saying, it's not for me, this is too much. This, the world is cruel and da da da. Like I just love when and this is the commentary on people that are meeting and stuff too. How many different walks of
Mhm.
life, right? I mean, people who've been, like you said, like nurses, cops, engineers, IT people,
Mhm.
like anybody you can imagine are in sub two, going like on that journey to invest in real estate. But as they,
Mhm.
like you were saying, like yeah, Chinamonti, right? Like he is just doing
Yeah. It's
crazy
amazing.
good work, like really helping people
Mhm.
literally get off the streets, like live
Mhm.
decently, figure out the next steps, right? So it's not just about let me buy a house and stick some tenants in it and basically figure out the management and I'm gonna go off and sip my cocktail. I mean, again, good
Yeah.
for you if that's what floats your boat. What I'm loving is that a lot of people in sub2 community, that's not the vision, right? They actually want a
Yeah.
whole lot
That's
bigger
not the
vision.
ultimate goal. Obviously, you have to be at a certain point wherein you're at least financially okay so that you
Of
can
course.
do more, right? So I guess
Exactly.
ultimately everyone would want to be in that space. Like, yeah, yeah. And that's the same thing. That's why, so my Mount Everest, I know we're talking about the owners club and stuff. So for those who doesn't know, a Mount Everest, that's kind of like the ultimate goal that you want to have. And so again, having that cash flow works great. But my Mount Everest is actually senior housing facilities. And so
Mm,
my mom is at the age wherein in a few years she's going to be 75 next year. And the go-to for Asians and for the elderly people that I know are to go back home when they're retiring, because they want to
mm,
get the care that that the Filipinos would give to elderly people or
Mhm.
their family and stuff. So why would do I want to send her back there when I can just replicate it here? So that's my mission. That's my um Mount Everest is to have residential facility for seniors, wherein you go out the door and it looks like a house and doesn't look like a
Mhm.
facility. And then
Mhm.
she can have I want to give them the quality of life, not just having 24/7 care and you live like a patient in a room. So I want them to have that. So what I want to do is I want to turn like the small mansions in Massachusetts, buy
Mhm.
them, turn them into like 10 below residences.
Mhm.
Obviously the goal would be like more rooms and stuff, but I want to really like tailor it to those many, 10 below, 20 below, and focus on the care and the quality of life
Mhm.
of each individual seniors. And we're doing couples as well in there, because not a lot of facilities entertain couples, so we're going to do the
Mhm.
couples in there and all that. So that's the ultimate goal. And again, the cash flow is there, and I would wanted to like partner with people. I've been already been talking to a couple home owners club members as well,
Mhm.
talking to them. We haven't finalized anything yet. We're in the early stages, but I would love to start this. I could have many partners, because again, this is not just one city. We can do it multiple cities,
Mhm.
and we are going. I What I want to do is um do the property and the operations together,
Mhm.
and that's the ultimate goal. So yeah,
Awesome.
so having an advocacy on helping other people as well as just having like a cash flow, generational wealth, all those stuff are great, but it's really what do you want in your heart, so yeah, that's a so I know we're like buffering and stuff. So what else can so if for someone who is starting, they're burnt out, they're an accountant, they burnt out, they want to get out of the office. So what do you have any advice on them? I know you came in and you just did what you did, and for someone coming in being a real estate investor, do you have like a piece of advice for them,
Real estate
keeps
investor
them
or
motivated?
okay. So you're saying like if you burned out in your corporate
Real
job and
investor, yeah, real estate investor, or yeah, something that wanted to, yeah.
well, I mean, this is something that I feel like like maybe it's not that unique, but I feel like it feels unique to our community. Like for example, the fact that so many people end up coming into Sub Two and basically ending up on a team where they can see operations with sitting basically or working alongside with people who are much more experienced. So, for example, somebody actually that I mentioned Sub Two to, she's now in Florida. She says that she's done the No One Left Behind challenge, the NOLB, and she's staying with the team. So I think it's a kind of a long-term commitment. So she's loving it. Like she loves reaching out to agents, and she's not from the real estate world at all, right? So she's basically just loving the
Mhm.
whole, like just touching things and like figuring out what's tangible and what really fits her. And I think this is probably the
Mhm.
best path forward, because I think it could be very lonely, just to sit there and watch a lot of videos. I think Pace talks about this all the time. We have, by the way, in Sub 2, I mean, for all the geeks and nerds out there, I mean, there's literally thousands, I think, of hours of videos sitting in the vault you can get access to. You can learn so many different things. I can tell you, like from corporate structure setups to, like everything about creative financing, all the different nuanced, videos that he has long videos usually. So he really goes into under the skin and really like in depth. So I just think that, both basically, you know one thing for sure, you will want to create like 4 or 5 good relationships in this space, right? And so basically, if you can, let's say, go to a meetup or a few
Mhm.
meetups in the area and basically start kind of figuring out what you gravitate towards, that's really the best first steps, right? And then I think you'll figure out if you want to partner up with somebody or work for someone. Probably best if you work for someone or with someone, because at the end of the day,
Mhm.
you're trying to discover yourself, right, through this process, because some people absolutely will not make cold
Yeah.
calls, and I'm one of those people. I just do not like it, right? But on the other hand, you might love calling agents, because maybe it's not quite the same as the cold call when you're calling a seller, because maybe the seller is just going to curse you out, let's say. I mean, not necessarily, but They might, right? And
Mhm.
maybe you just don't have the stomach for it at the moment. But if you talking to an agent, that I mean, that's what the agents do, right? They want to educate you and see if you want to basically you want to work with them later, right? They marketing themselves through that conversation technically, right? So you're not wasting anybody's time. You're learning, right? And they have an opportunity to build a relationship with you. So fantastic, yeah. But I think that
Mhm.
like I personally just feel also very compelled to bring more agents into this because I
Yeah.
feel like the more agents can become more A, versatile, B, financially independent, because I think it's a huge stereotype that being a real estate agent is so super lucrative. It really is not, depending on what you're doing, right? So a lot of times people
Mhm.
obsessed with the leads, right? Where do I get the leads? And of course they pay this
Mhm.
tremendous amount of money for Zillow leads or some other leads, right? And a lot of times they're not super productive.
Mhm.
And so basically, like,
Yeah.
what is going to be your way? Let's say if your goal was to be financially independent in 2 years, right? Like, say, we
Mhm.
just, like maybe that's what I was actually thinking to do. I want to start a group of real estate agents to collaborate with, almost like a study group, right? Okay, this is our
Yeah.
goal. Maybe somebody else's goal
Yeah.
is 5 years. I don't know. For somebody,
Mhm.
it could be a year. But basically, how can we level up together, right? Like, what can we do? Like, what kind of cross pollination? Because I'm going to only get my hands on so many things that I'm going to learn today, right? But
Mhm.
when we check in once a month, once every 2 weeks, however often, right?
Yeah.
How can I, sort of reduce this, right? Whatever it is that I learned this week, how can I bring it
Mhm.
to you, and what can you bring to me to essentially say, okay, did you know about XYZ, right?
Mhm.
Like, Justin's new software, like Deal Sauce, right? Like, how much time would it save, right? People, if they know that Deal Sauce exists and they
So
can sign
you
up.
you you create you do like something that you can do is like what you said, like a group study or whatever. I forgot the name of it. So be like an ultimate unicorn agent, having to know where to get
Right,
the deals, exit strategies,
right,
options for your sellers. Those are having foreclosure, probate, whatever, divorce. So
right, right.
yeah, that's a great platform for you because obviously you know all those stuff already, and So one of my favorite quotes is it's from Margaret Fuller. She is actually a journalist from Massachusetts in Cambridge. Her
Mm,
quote is if you have knowledge, let others light their candles in it. So you're an expert in real estate already. I would call you an expert. You've been there 15 years, whatever.
mm,
If you went to school, you would have a PhD or whatever, master's, something like that, right? So you're already an expert on it, and your knowledge, like let's say the knowledge in the NARS and everything that you explained with regards to real estate, because I have no knowledge, I have no background in real estate. Those knowledge I can then partake on that and spread it to others. So
mhm.
in turn, you're giving me knowledge that I can teach some other people too. So you are giving a light to me because I was like, oh my gosh, I can say it to someone else and stuff. So it's like, yeah, that's something that you can actually monetize on that too, if you want like a 99 cent kind of. If you want to download this information, first it's free, and then the other ones would be, if you want to know more, like kind of like an ebook.
Right.
Let's start small and start an ebook, right?
Yeah.
'Cause at the end of the day, we want to do this, but then for us to really do this, we have to have like some source of income and stuff like that. But yeah, do you
Yeah.
have a favorite quote that you go by with? My quote is so random. It's because we follow Pace Morby, right? And the wealth of knowledge that he has, and he tells it to us like for free. He gives it out for free,
Mm,
and because I learned those from him, I now share it with others, and I'm kind of like lighting my own candle and showing it to, showing the way to other people.
mhm.
It's because of his being a go-giver. So do you have any like quotes that you want to share or something like that?
It's funny. I feel like I have. First of all, I have some memory issues. I feel like because every time I'm trying to remember something, it just fades away. But just what you were just talking about. It says. I mean, the quote was, I don't know who said it, but something along the lines of like, when you get to the top, don't forget to send the elevator down. Right. So
Down.
basically, like,
Yeah, yeah, exactly,
it's just,
exactly.
I think it's what I was saying before, like with real estate. I think the stereotype is that it's super territorial, and I feel like when
Hmm.
people act differently, that alone will have you noticed, right? Because you stand out, and it's just there's something very fun. I mean, for me, right? There's something tremendously fun nowadays. When I wake up in the morning, I really look forward to new connections, figuring like problem solving, like you said, right? Like really re-looking at things that I thought I got covered, right? But really looking at them with fresh eyes. And it's like child's play, right? Like you're constantly in a state of creativity, which
Mm-hmm.
ultimately for me, that is the beauty of life, right? Like you can be creative every day.
Yeah.
Sometimes, because, when people say, oh, another day of whatever, right? It's a drag,
Mm-hmm.
it's a routine. Like the goal for me would be like not to have a routine, basically. I don't want to have a
Mm-hmm.
routine. Yes, I want to have some things on my schedule on a regular basis, blah, blah, blah. But it's just the people that are coming into your life because you're solving real problems, right? And you helping, like
Other people.
normally I would be helping, let's say, just my clients, right? So I obviously have fiduciary duty, right, to help them. But now I'm actually looking at, like, when I'm driving, I'm looking at some old house, let's say, and I'm thinking, what could be, because, I see the sign has been there for, 5 months now, right? So I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
how can I help this person, right? So they're not
Mm-hmm.
technically my client, and I would technically benefit from it if I solve it for them, right? But basically now
Yeah.
I'm doubling, right, or tripling the benefit, right? So there's just
Mm-hmm.
a lot of ways that I think, once you have the knowledge, basically, you can cast your vision in a much more beautiful and broad way than maybe what most agents, specifically, if I'm, think, coming from my own experience, generally able to, right? And so we just move on to the next thing. But really, if
Mm-hmm.
you sit with it for a little bit longer, you
Yeah.
make many more
Make-
friends, right? Because you show that you care, number one, right? And that's something that I think generally in life is amazing, right? Even if you at the hospital, right? I mean, there's
Yeah.
different ways to be treated at the hospital, right? I mean, sometimes it's just very cut and dry, right? And sometimes it's this wonderful nurse that really takes interest, right? And like really cares about you, right? And so,
Yeah.
like, I think at the end of the day, that's where what I would like to see in my world, that I have agents that basically are becoming very financially independent, unlike the typical thing, and that's one thing that you touched on earlier. Like we were talking, like I don't own my brokerage, and I chose not to because I
Mm-hmm.
don't necessarily want to be dealing with a lot of administrative issues, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
recruitment and this and that, but at the same with paperwork. But the new company that I joined last December, honestly, like I'm so grateful that they basically exist, because the model is so different from everything that I've known before. Where basically, like if I make $100,000, I pay, let's say, 15% split. If I make
Yeah.
$1 million, I pay 15% split, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the incentive is not quite there, right? I mean, yes, the more you make, the better. But the point is, this new model says, okay, you owe us $12,000 at most, right? Doesn't matter if you make $1 million or
Mm-hmm.
$100,000, whatever, how much you make. There's a cap, right? And
Yeah.
then they incentivize you to go invest. They say, okay, for 3 properties a year, you keep your 100% splits, so long as you have some relationship to this property, like it's your personal property, it's your fix and flip, or what have you. So I mean, there's many
Mm-hmm.
more wonderful things about how they structured the model. But the point is,
Yeah.
like, one of the things that I feel like most agents can do instantly to boost their real estate ROI, right? Like leverage
Yeah.
their effort, is literally just to work at a better brokerage, right? And
Mm-hmm.
sometimes I feel like
Yeah.
you know, it's not that we're
And you
lazy.
feel like you found that brokerage with the one that you just went
Right,
into.
right. Yeah,
Okay,
and it's
that's
it's
great.
like
Yeah.
it's I think for me, honestly, it was always about relationships, but it's
Mm-hmm.
just, it's a combination of, right? So for example, if you're going to do the same, you're going to spend the same amount of hours, same amount of effort, you might as well, right, be in a model that actually allows you to leverage it better, right? And so once you start
Mm-hmm.
thinking that way, right, like what Pace has been talking about, like killing three birds, five birds with one stone, right? Like how many things can you extract from one activity, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or 1 hour of your life, right? Like how many good things can come out of it?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Not just for you necessarily, but just generally, like what effects? Like, so when
Mm-hmm.
he, for example, he was saying that, he doesn't create content, he just documents his life, right? Or his work. And that amplifies,
Yeah.
right, to the community, to our community, obviously, but also he puts a lot of stuff on YouTube. So that's
Mm-hmm.
the beauty of it, right? Like if people can really
Mm-hmm.
think very intentionally how they're spending the time and how this could benefit somebody else,
Mm-hmm.
maybe somebody who's 5 years behind starting in a new career, right? Or investing, or something, that basically will help somebody else, right? I mean, it's just,
Mm-hmm.
it's quite inspiring, I'll tell you. It sounds almost like,
So, to anyone who doesn't know who Pace Morby is, you better
yes,
go out of your shell and search him, okay? Go to YouTube and search him. He's a wonderful, tremendous guy. He's helped a lot of people the how many are we now, in the 15,000, 20,000?
I think
And
it's
yeah,
yeah.
he's really, there's a lot of free videos that you can watch. He can teach you how to buy properties, how to sell properties, help anyone in need, anything like that. So yeah, that's our mentor and our friend and our business partner, Pace Morby. And so yeah, we would encourage you to watch his videos, and also our video. Obviously, he's the one who taught us to make this one, because there's a lot of stuff that we learned from him we want to share to other people. So we've been talking for almost an hour now. I am so excited. I learned a lot from you. I know we talk not that often, but when we talk, we have like really meaningful conversations, and I really want to thank you for that. So to our listeners who want to follow you, want to connect with you, I'm gonna put in your
Thank you.
Instagram. You have a YouTube channel, or and I don't know if you want to put your link tree in there, but I'm gonna put your Instagram and your Facebook in there. So tell us your handles, and so our listeners and our viewers can follow you.
You know what? Probably the best way is going to be Linktree because it has
Your
all
link
of
tree.
the
All
different
of your stuff
links
in
and
there.
pointers. Everything is going to be there. Yeah. So Linktree is linktr.ee. So Linktree, but there's a dot between before the
Yeah,
e's, and then slash Karina Dimurchan. So it's my long
Demurchyan.
Armenian name. That yes, if you guys don't
That's how you say it, Demurchyan. Okay, okay. Yeah.
Dimurchan, yes, it's
Demurchyan.
the
Okay,
last vowel.
perfect. Yeah, I'll put all of those information on the description of this video so you can follow Karina.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Yeah, yeah. And so we learned a lot. Thank you very much for being with us today. And yeah, I can't wait to, hopefully we can join, buy businesses together, or if you wanted
Love
to,
it.
like just share inputs, and or maybe we can do a book club, because I haven't read this yet.
Me neither. I'm
Yeah,
actually
yeah.
going to start
And
today.
I was talking to Suzanne Sharkey, was my guest
Mm,
last week,
mm,
and I was
that's-
telling her I'm not really much of a reader, because back home, when we were little, I
mm,
really didn't have time to read, because
mm,
it's just life circumstances. So I never got the habit to read. So what I do is I read the back and see if it interests me, and then I
mm.
read it after. But I'm like a half book reader. Once I get what I wanted from it, I put it down. I never get to finish it. But yeah, this one I think I'm going to, because I love Cody Sanchez and everything she does, especially with the business buying, and that's
Mhm.
one thing that we wanna do as well. But yeah, so again, I want to thank you for coming in here, and I'd love for to have a chat with you. Maybe when I reach like 100 guests or 200 guests, you'll come back, and
I
let's see
love
where
it.
we get from there.
Yeah. Are
Right.
you coming to
Yeah.
the Saturday event?
I'm coming to Saturday, and I'm gonna meet the No One Left Behind challenge. My group there, because
Oh,
I'm in
cool.
there as a coach. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
Yes, yes,
So
yes.
yeah, yeah.
Amazing. Yeah. You
All
guys
right.
should
See you
come too.
Saturday. Thank you so much.
Thank you. See you soon.
Okay. Bye bye.
Bye.